Guys, this is What If Spider-Man Was in Invincible Part 2. Let's dive right into it. So we start our story off last time when we left off after episode 1. Episode 1 will mainly be focused primarily on Spider-Man's origin and how his role will be mainly focused on the street tier incidents that are happening in the Invincible universe. Like, pretty much the street crimes are going on in Titan's area of the Invincible universe alongside pretty much Machine Head and a bunch of other characters. More street tier level characters that aren't so, let's just say, on par with other characters like, pretty much immortal and people that are pretty much, planetary threats. Spider-Man can't really keep up with the big dogs unless we give him a little bit of a buff, because I will eventually give him some buff that will have him be a part of something like the Invincible or something like the Vulture Attack or anything like that. So he will be a crucial member later on in the fanfiction or later on in the series, but for now he's more of a street tier character and more of a character to push and make, well, Mark a better person too. Now let's dive right into this fanfiction. And last time I left off where Peter, well, got his powers, and also the fact that, well, his father, no, his Uncle Ben, basically his father for his life, his whole life, he's had this father figure, Uncle Ben, the person that's raised him, given him all his, given him all the things he's need in life moments, talks, and a bunch of other significant parts in his life that made him the man he is, made him the person he is now, and eventually will push him to become the man we all know and love, the person we all know and love, the hero we all know and love. And he died last episode, so that's where I left off. Now, Peter dealing with this loss. He will be dealing with this loss throughout the entirety of Season 1. He'll find his grounding, but still, we gotta actually, pretty much, correctly simulate the grief of, well, a loved one, somebody like a father. So we gotta actually really go in depth with that. Now, what would happen if we could switch to Mark's story, as Mark and Debbie would have been told the news about how Nolan is actually in the hospital, and they get shown to the Pentagon and get told about the high-tech area, facilities, and a bunch of other stuff that's going on down here. They're shown Nolan in critical condition, and pretty much they're also told a little bit about how the Guardians of the Globe are all gone. They've all been murked off. They all been murdered except for Nolan. So Nolan's the sole survivor of this attack. Now, what would happen is during this time, we will see that Mark would have to step up since Nolan would be out of it. He would have to step up and become better. So Mark goes out and tries to deal with the whole thing that his father is in critical condition and everything about that. So we see him go on this little journey on trying to figure out what's going on and try to find his grounding of a hero. Now, what would happen is the Flaxum attack would have happened just the same. Them basically blasting these police officers, would have started to pump these fools left and right. Mark would eventually show up, but him flying down and seeing all this blood and chaos go off. Mark is in shambles. He hasn't seen nothing like this before. He hasn't seen blood like this. He hasn't seen people in shambles like this. Mark starts to freak out. Freak out, bro. Mark tries to stop as he tries to go and help an elderly lady. With the flying and the friction and everything that he's doing, he kind of sort of makes the old lady even more damaged than she already is. She can't take this amount of, intensity, bro. Like, Mark is a superhuman. He has to understand physics is a thing, bro. So he starts to fly around trying to get his old lady out the way, but she just gets hurt and badly injured from the fall since, well, Mark is invincible and she's not. Like, the fuck? So Mark starts to tweak out, bro. We see her legs and her arms are combobbled. They're gone. They're gone. I don't know how any type of technology can put them shits back into a cast and fix that shit. Nah. Her bones are pocket out of her body. The fuck? So we see that the Flaxum leader, after Mark did, fly in there and kind of mess up the Flaxum leader's whole entire face, he tries to shoot down Mark instantly with his blaster. Try to eradicate this dude. So the Flaxum leaders get stopped by this redhead chick. we all kind of see in season 1. We all know and love Eve. So Eve, Duplicate, Rexplode, Robot, and pretty much all the team start to make a plan to go against the Flaxum invasion. During this time, with the team also being seen by Peter would actually been telling them, trying to figure out a good grounding for being a superhero. So Peter, watching them from afar, would have said, "It's time to suit up." Peter donning, well, not his OG suit, but him donning a little bit of a work in progress. Mark would have put on a similar suit to, if you don't know, I know it's a very hated Spider-Man suit. I know it's very hated. I know it's a very hated Spider-Man series. Marvel's Spider-Man, I think from 2013, 2015, something, I don't know, with his work in progress suit with the baggy jumpsuit and everything like that. Peter would have been rocking this, swinging around and punching the Flaxum attackers down at the ground. We see how Eve would have escorted Mark, would have told Mark to get the old lady out of here now, as Eve and the rest of the team would have started to pretty much lock in and try to take down the Flaxum leaders, or the Flaxum invaders. So Rexpo, seeing that his normal attacks aren't really working for real, and he has to pump up the juice, Rex was about to get blickied, but Peter would have jumped in last minute, throwing a freaking car at 3 or 2 of these guys. You still gotta understand, Peter is just like Mark. He's new to the game, and also the fact that Peter's strength, he doesn't know his full strength just yet. He hasn't learned the art of holding back. So Peter starts to kick around things, punch Thraxums left and right, and pretty much punch multiple of them rows down, chuck multiple of them through walls, concrete pillars, and even go as far as to almost breaking one's head clean off. Eventually, the Thraxum leaders, or the Flaxum invaders, start to figure out the repercussions of this world, and they're not really, down to this Earth's time frame. So they start to age rapidly and start to die. So they all start to retreat and leave immediately. The Flaxum leader vows to come back and try to take down Mark after he, pretty much marked his face. So the Thraxum leader is automatically at the end of the fight, after they flee and leave, is kind of pressed. So they go, and we see the team and everybody else kind of confused. Rex starts to press Peter, saying, "Who is this guy?" As Robot tries to pin him through the database, saying he doesn't read any of my records. He's not a suit. So basically what he means by that, he's not a registered superhero with the DDG or with the Pentagon or with Cecil. So he isn't really, a established suit anywhere in America or in the world. So he's more of a rookie, a nuance, just like that kid they saw earlier. So we see that, well, Robot tells him that we enjoy your help, but I think you should leave it to the professionals. Peter would have also put a smirky remark saying professionals, all I see is a bunch of kids and a walking, talking robot. So I don't really think you have this in the bag. I actually legitimately think you need my help in this situation. So what happened is, well, Rex kind of gets pissed off, saying, "What do you mean we're not the professionals? We just saved the day." Peter saying, "No, you didn't. What it looked like to me, they just aged really rapidly." They start to do a little bit of science mumbo jumbo talk between him and Robot, and we see that Robot kind of just sees that Peter isn't incredibly smart and tries to even the ground with him, try to find a common standing ground with him to the conversation. Rex is kind of just pissed off, saying, "Who's this kid? Why are you talking to him, man? What's going on here?" As Peter throws a smirky remark, saying, "For a guy that can blow up things, you pretty are short-tempered." As what would happen is, well, Rex would have kind of gotten a little pissed, but Eve telling him to calm down. As Peter would have just walked off, saying, "Well, I'll see you guys later, catch you on the flip side," as he would have started to swing away. We see him swinging away in the city as he's swinging and swinging and swinging, and he lands on a nearby perch. Now, doing this whole type of situation, we see that, well, he goes to the Pentagon to try to get this woman help, or the old lady help. Mark being covered in blood and also being gunned up by all these ancient men. And honestly, low-key, looking back in the scene, what were they going to do if Mark was a threat? They couldn't even blast this dude if they wanted to, man. Mark is invincible. He may have not been as strong as he was in Season 3, but he's still bulletproof, laserproof. He's still proof enough to take all them armed men down without a second thought, bro. If he actually was a threat. Now, what would happen is Mark, being bloody and messed up and kind of just in PTSD of what the hell he just saw, kind of goes to his father's bedside to try to figure out what he's supposed to do, try to find comfort in his father. So Mark is walking down the hallways out of it as he just bumps into multiple people, which I never noticed. Like, why does Mark just, literally butter through these people? I mean, like, literally walk through them like butter. We've seen him literally be used as a freaking cutting saw against a train for the finale. But yeah, so what would happen is Mark would have started to talk to William. William asking him what's going on, and him also hearing some sort of news about how his father was in critical condition or got hit by a bus or some shit. So Mark is telling him that it's okay, but I don't know how to deal with this. We see that William gets interrupted by Peter, actually. Peter telling William that I'm sorry you couldn't make it to the family meetout. Yesterday I was just a little bit preoccupied. William would have said that it's okay, and are you sure you should be at school this early? Now Peter does say I'm fine, and Mark says, who's this? William says this is my friend, or my family friend, my cousin actually. As Peter just says, hey, you look familiar. As Mark just says, oh, I don't think I've ever seen you around. They start to talk a little bit, but Mark gets preoccupied when he sees a certain specific or familiar redhead girl, and he basically confronts her, saying that, well, I saw you yesterday at the city hall. As basically they start to talk a little bit, as she says, I'm Adam Eve, and Mark says, I'm Invincible. Saying that's a little bit over the tongue. It's not really like a normal name like Eve, but still. As pretty much, well, Eve and Mark try to talk a little bit about superhero and everything like that, and they kind of come to an understanding, really. Like, we see the early chemistry pop off really quick with these two because, well, they're literally destined to be together, but still. So, what happened is they sit on the top of the school building and start to talk about superheroing and everything along those lines. Now, she also asked, does he know that other dude that was there? He calls himself Spider Boy. As pretty much, well, Mark says, I'm pretty sure no one chooses to call themselves Spider Boy, but I don't really know him. That's the first time I ever saw him, and then I flew off to save that lady, but I still don't know if the lady's okay or not. Eve says it comes with the job. You save people, but you never really get the closure. So that's basically what happens. Mark is a little confused, but he also tries to confide in her about what he saw yesterday, that he never was really in a situation like that. He never seen that much blood, that much people getting shot down, being killed, all those lives being just stopped. It could have been something. It was just over for them like that. Eve would have told him and consoled him that it comes with the job. Being a hero isn't all sunshines and rainbows. There are hard and tough things you got to do. It's just a matter of time, or a matter of if you can take it, if you can handle it. As Peter is kind of just confused, but Mark is kind of just confused. But he also asks, so if you don't know who the Spider Kid is, and I don't know, who is he? Eve says, well, Robot, my team leader, I guess, kind of chalks up for him to be some sort of new coming soup, kind of like you. So they start to talk a little bit, chat it up, as we get switched back to Peter. Now, we already know what's going on in the rest of the series, with Cecil trying to investigate the whole entire Guardians of the Galaxy game packed up like a sandwich for a kid to go to school. So yeah, they're just trying to figure out what's going on. They get confronted by Dark Blood, or this version's version of Hellboy, or Constantine, I guess. So yeah, I think his name, Dark Blood, yeah. So Dark Blood, this version of like Hellboy and Constantine mixed together. We switch away from their story as we get switched to actually Peter swinging around the city. Peter swinging and swinging and swinging. Eventually, him stopping near the same city we come and find is Titan's little whereabout area. We see Titan in the background, but we mainly focus on Peter's pretty much work in the city. Now, Peter does actually live around the city area, so he does live into like a medium suburban, medium crime area. So Peter starts to swing around the city, eventually finding some crime and smiling as he flies down to the ground. He lands down and says, so, is it a little bit early for trick-or-treating? as he sees these guys all dressed up in mask suits trying to rob some sort of high facility or some sort of big bank area around this. And it seems to be the Lizard League. Peter's in for a treat now, bruh. Lizard League packed up the entire Guardians of the Globe. Well, not like half of the new members, but still. So we see them and he's trying to fight them all one-on-one. With his increased speed, durability, athleticism, and all those other things, Peter starts to dodge and weave and move out of the way, but the big guy grabs him by the back of the head and chucks him through 2 different walls in the bank, making him stop against the bank wall, making a huge indent of his body. Peter is blasted, bro. He's confuffled, bro. He is combustled. He just got thrown and chucked like a sack of potatoes through walls that broke like glass against his body. I mean, god damn. So we see that Peter starts to get up and coughs up some blood out of the mask, and he gets a fighting stance and says, okay, that's how you want to play it. Peter starts to jump towards the big dude, saying that he doesn't really have to hold back since he's assuming the big dude can take a punch. So he kicks the big dude with all of his strength. I mean, every last inch of spider strength, almost knocking this big dude's jaw clean off, Scorpion's superior Spider-Man style. I mean, god damn, bro, it was gruesome. It was gruesome. Like, half of his jaw came off. Mortal Kombat style, like half of it. And his left, hinge on his jaw was the only thing that was keeping his jaw on. He starts coughing on his own blood, tweaking out, as Peter says, "Oh, I didn't mean to do that." Peter starts to freak out a little bit. Him getting, distracted after he got shot in the leg by the leader of the serpent scene, or, the lizard man. So, we see that he starts to dodge out of the way with a shot up leg, as Peter hides behind a bench with all the other, pretty much, hostages running out of the bank, giving him enough cover to sneak every last one of the Lizard League members. Eventually, some of the Lizard League members do get away, but Peter does able to get around half to 2 to 3 of them down, so he is able to pretty much successfully stop the bank from being robbed and catch a few bad guys. But Peter swings off, being bloody and wounded, landing on top of a building and kind of starting to zone in and out of consciousness. Peter starts to crawl off as he eventually gets, passed out. Before he passes out, he sees a man. He sees some sort of eyes, as this man is clad in all red with devil horns. We can switch away from Peter's story and we can switch back to Mark. Now, what happened is Mark and Eve start to fly around, and Mark is introduced to the team for the first time. Rex, Eve, Duplicate, and Robot all see Mark, and they kind of just see him as a new member. Now, Robot does tell the team that they did see some shooting going on downtown, and it was about the Lizard League. And pretty much, Rexplode says, isn't that the Guardians, their villain team? As Robot says, they're offline for now, but I wanted to try to investigate what happened. People or civilians said that it was sightings of that Spider Kid from yesterday. So we see that, Rexplode says, it doesn't really matter. That kid, let him do what he wants to do. If he wants to be a hero by himself and no help, let him be that. So we see that, Rex starts to press Mark a little bit. Now, Mark says, or gets introduced to the rest of the group, as their conversation goes somewhere the same, besides a little pitching of them trying to figure out where's Peter at, they don't know it's Peter, where's Spider Guy at. So, what happened, we see that Mark checks in on the old lady, being told that she's in critical condition and she might not make it. As we get switched back to Rex at the team later, as he looks at the tracker and sees that I think the flag symbol are showing up again. But what happened is we get switched back to Mark, and Mark gets pulled away by Eve. Let's just say a certain character. A certain character I hate! God, I hate her! I hate her, bro. You don't understand how much hate I have in my heart for this lady, bro. Amber.
Oh, hell no, man.
Bro. She redeemed herself in season 3, actually. But season 2, she was a better girlfriend. But damn, I hated her in season 1. Jesus Christ, man. She always made shit hard, bro, for no reason. God damn. So we get switched back to the team, basically getting their booties handed to them like sacks of potatoes. They're getting their booties handed to them, mainly because of the fact the Flaxums pulled up again, saying, "I understand it now." Having a bunch of tech specifically made for their powers to pretty much go against each and every one of their powers. Duplicate starts getting murked left to right. Multiple of her clones getting Swiss cheesed. We see that Eve gets hit with a face bomb, Robot gets hit with the AMP, and a bunch of other technologies specifically made for them, and only them. They make a certain type of adhesive glue to try to subdue Mark and get him into a type of unmoving state, since he seems to be one of the strongest in the group. But we get switched to Peter, actually, and his situation. So what happens after this? We get switched away from the Thraxum invasion. Everything in that situation happens pretty much the same because Peter won't be a part of that fight for that specific fight. So we get switched back to Peter. Peter wakes up in a type of I guess condo, as Peter is kind of confused, saying, where is he? Where's my mask? As Peter gets told to calm down and is told that he'll be alright, he sutured up his wound, and surprisingly, he healed pretty fast, kid. We see that Peter says, "Who are you?" As, well, huh? He says, "I'm Daredevil, kid, but you can call me Matt Murdock." So we see that Peter asks him, "So you know who I am?" Not really. You see, I'm blind. Peter's confused. Okay, so how did you stitch me up and pretty much fix me up without being able to see? He says, "How are you able to crawl on walls, and how are you able to take a gunshot straight to the leg and swing away building to building about 3 to 4 blocks down without minimum to no bleeding on the floor?" So that's what I want to know. "And how are you strong enough to take down half of the Lizard League by yourself?" Peter just says, "Okay, you got me there." They start to go back and forth, as eventually Daredevil tells Peter that you're probably new to this whole thing, right? Well, a little bit of cautionary tale: don't go after a complete team of supervillains by yourself, kid. You might not come out alive next time. Luckily, I was able to find you before you bled out. Peter just says, "Thank you. You're Matt Murdock. You're Daredevil, right?" And he says, "Yeah, I'm Daredevil, and I'm Matt Murdock. And if you ever need a lawyer, kid, here's my card." Daredevil tells him that he can let himself out anytime, and if he ever needs help, he can also use that card too. So Daredevil goes into his room, closing the door, as Peter's just left there, kind of having a new door open to him with Daredevil shenanigans in the Invincible universe. Yeah, guys, I am going to be introducing small but yet, reasonable Marvel characters within the Invincible universe. So yeah, if you ever want me to introduce like another character, like, I don't know, Miles Morales, any other Spider-Man villains, I will introduce Spider-Man villains, but still. So yeah, if you want me to introduce any other Marvel characters like the Fantastic Four, or Spider-Man, or characters that are like linked to Spider-Man, that will actually progress the story and actually make the story a little more interesting. So if you ever want me to introduce like some sort of other character, like, I don't know, symbiotes. Actually, no, I have something real big for the symbiote arc I'm going to be doing for season 2 of this What If. So yeah, so what happened after that, we see that Mark gets better and also tweaks up his suit. It isn't his final suit, but he does make it a little bit better, trying to reinforce it and also cover the mask up more. So Peter dons his new, homemade suit 2.0 suit and goes out after he finds a little bit of something that's going down in the same area that happened with the Flaxum invasion happening a third time. But what happened, the Flaxums should have shown up being even more prepared, and the Flaxum leader having some crazy tech on him, bro. I mean, some crazy tech. Bro was pretty much like freaking rocking around with a whole entire Hulkbuster, bro. He pissed the pause on Mark. I mean, he about to murk this dude right here and now. Mark is getting blasted. I mean, getting absolutely slammed down. Eventually, Omni-Man's back in commission with the suit on. And he flies down, immediately wiping the map with these guys. He starts to fly around and starts to pit the two-piece Hambo combo on this Flaxen leader. I mean, this guy has nothing. He doesn't know what is coming to him. He gets thrown into the wormhole, and Omni-Man follows him soon after. Omni-Man, let's just say, he don't like these niggas. They're gone. So what would happen is they get cooked, and we see that Mark comes home telling his mom that dad went through a wormhole. And he says, oh, that happens all the time. You know, he'll be okay. He'll be fine. He'll be back. As Mark's saying, what you mean? So we can switch away from that. We can switch to Nolan, let's just say, doing his Nolan things. And let's just unlocking that Vulturemite heritage. You know what I'm saying? So, Vulturemite heritage. You know what I'm saying? So we see that Nolan eventually comes back with rocking a crazy beard. I mean, this beard looking clean as fuck. But we see that he flies back down there and gets back home after absolutely decimating the Flaxen Empire and planet. I mean, absolutely wipes these guys off the map. So what happens is, well, Darkblood tries to press Cecil, telling him that maybe it was Omni-Man, or kind of hinting towards that. So we end off the episode there. But not just there yet. We also get introduced to Pacific, let's just say, redhead individual. But we'll leave it off here, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys like and subscribe. And as always, guys, have a blessed day. I know this video is a little bit short, but yet again, I am going to be introducing a lot more Spider-Man characters and focusing a lot more on Peter besides Mark in, well, part 3. So let's dive into that next part next week. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe. And as always, guys, have a blessed day. Deuces.